The massive alien fleet filled the viewport of the HMS Tenacity like a swarm of angry wasps. Captain James Walker stood on the bridge, his weathered hands clasped behind his back as he watched the enemy ships move into attack formation. They looked like dark, sharp-edged crystals against the star-filled background, their hulls gleaming with an unnatural purple shine that spoke of technology far beyond anything humanity had ever created. Or so they thought. "Sir, they're broadcasting again," said Tom from the communication station. The young officer's voice was steady, but his fingers trembled slightly as they moved across his console. Walker nodded. "Let's hear what they have to say this time." The alien voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfectly translated English that somehow made their words even more insulting. "Human vessel, your continued resistance is both foolish and amusing. Our scans show your ship relies on primitive combustion engines and basic particle weapons. Surrender now, and we will make your extinction quick and painless." Walker allowed himself a small smile. The alien scans showed exactly what humanity wanted them to see. The Tenacity's outer hull was deliberately designed to mask its true nature, covered in fake engine ports and dummy weapon systems that gave off all the signatures of a relatively primitive spaceship. 37 ships, Captain," reported Lisa from the sensor station. "All capital class or above. The smallest one is twice our size." She paused, checking her readings. "They're moving to surround us." The bridge crew watched as the alien vessels spread out in a sphere formation, cutting off any possible escape route. To them, the Tenacity must have looked like a cornered animal, alone, outnumbered, and hopelessly outgunned, the last defender of a dying world. Earth burned behind them, its once blue skies now stained with the smoke of destroyed cities. The alien fleet had arrived 3 days ago, brushing aside humanity's best defenses like they were nothing more than annoying insects. Space stations were vaporized. Orbital platforms were torn apart. The combined might of Earth's space navy was reduced to floating debris in less than 6 hours. Only the Tenacity remained, holding position above what was left of the North American continent. As far as the aliens knew, it was humanity's last pathetic attempt at resistance, a single outdated vessel trying to defend a planet that was already lost. "Sir," Tom called out, his voice tighter than before. "Message from Command Bunker Alpha. It's coded urgent." Walker turned away from the viewport. "Put it through to my station." The message was brief, just 4 words that made Walker's heart beat faster. "Ghost Protocol is ready." He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of what was about to happen. The Tenacity wasn't just humanity's last ship, it was humanity's last hope, the result of a secret project that had been in development for over a decade. While the world built obvious space stations and conventional warships, a hidden team of scientists led by Dr. Mary Thompson had been working on something revolutionary. "All stations, battle stations," Walker commanded. His voice was calm but carried an edge of steel that made every crew member sit up straighter. "Begin power-up sequence for all systems. Real ones this time." Screens around the bridge flickered as dummy readings were replaced with actual system status displays. Behind the false hull panels, cutting-edge technology began to hum to life. The quantum core, hidden in the very heart of the ship, started its activation sequence. The alien fleet drew closer, probably expecting the Tenacity to either try a suicidal attack or turn and run. They had seen this scenario play out countless times across countless worlds, a desperate last stand by a primitive species that didn't know when to give up. "They're charging weapons," Lisa reported. "All ships. They're taking their time about it." There was disgust in her voice. "They're toying with us." Walker nodded grimly. "Let them enjoy themselves while they can." Status of the quantum core. 70% and climbing, responded Bill from engineering. The older engineer's voice carried a note of excitement. "All systems are green. The masking field is holding. They still can't see what we're really packing." The alien commander's voice came through again, tripping with mock sympathy. Your ship's power readings are barely enough to maintain life support. Your weapons couldn't dent the hull of our smallest vessel. Why throw away your lives? Why not accept the inevitable with dignity?" Walker gestured to Tom. "Open a channel." When Tom nodded, Walker spoke clearly and firmly. "This is Captain James Walker of the HMS Tenacity. You're right about one thing. This ends today. But not the way you think." He could almost hear the alien commander's amusement. Brave words from a dead species. "Very well, Captain. Die with your irrelevant honor intact. All ships, target their vessel. Let's make this quick. I want to be finished with this backward planet by dinner time." "Quantum core at 95%, Bill reported. "Ready on your command, sir." Walker watched as the alien ships began to glow with deadly energy, their weapon ports brightening like purple stars about to go nova. In moments, they would fire enough firepower to turn the Tenacity into atoms. "Sir," Lisa's voice was urgent. "They're starting their firing sequence. 20 seconds until impact." Walker allowed himself another small smile. "You know what humanity's greatest strength is?" he asked his crew. "It's not our technology, or our resources, or even our determination. It's our ability to look weak right up until the moment we show our true strength." "Quantum core at full power," Bill announced. "All systems ready. 10 seconds to impact." Walker straightened his uniform. "Disable the masking field. Let's show them what they're really dealing with." The false hull readings disappeared, revealing the Tenacity's true nature. The quantum core's energy signature burst forth like a newborn sun, its readings so powerful that the alien ship's sensors must have been overwhelmed. 5 seconds. "Tactical. Target all hostile vessels," Walker commanded. "Full quantum spread. Let's show them exactly how primitive we are." The alien weapons fired, 37 beams of destructive energy racing toward the Tenacity from all directions. But the quantum core was already responding, its impossible calculations reshaping reality itself around the ship. In the last moment before the alien weapons struck, Walker thought about all the worlds these invaders had conquered, all the civilizations they had crushed, all the species they had driven to extinction. They had never faced anything like what humanity had created. They had never imagined that their greatest defeat would come at the hands of a species they considered barely worth noticing. "Let's make them remember this day," Walker said quietly. "The day they learned to fear the ones they laughed at." The alien weapons reached the Tenacity just as the quantum core reached full power, and the real battle was about to begin. The aliens were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one that looks like prey. Time seemed to slow down as the alien weapons converged on the Tenacity. The purple beams of energy stretched across space like deadly fingers reaching for their prey. But in the split second before impact, something impossible happened. The quantum core activated. Deep within the ship's heart, Dr. Mary Thompson's creation came alive. The core didn't just process information. It processed reality itself. Billions of calculations happened in microseconds, each one exploring a different possible future, each one finding a way to turn certain death into survival. "Core response at maximum," Bill shouted from his station. The engineering displays showed energy readings that shouldn't have been possible. "The veil is forming." Around the Tenacity, space itself seemed to ripple. The alien energy beams struck not the ship's hull, but a barrier of pure probability. The veil, as the crew called it, wasn't a shield in any traditional sense. It was a field where quantum uncertainty became absolute certainty, and right now it was certain that the Tenacity would not be destroyed. The alien weapons didn't just bounce off. They ceased to exist. The veil calculated every possible path those energy beams could take, and chose the one where they simply weren't there anymore. On the bridge, the crew watched in awe as their attackers' most powerful weapons vanished into nothing. "Impossible." The alien commander's voice crackled over the comm system. "Our scans. The energy readings. What are you?" Walker stood from his chair, his voice steady. "We are what you made us. Every species you've conquered, every civilization you've destroyed, they all tried to match your technology. They tried to build bigger ships, stronger weapons, better shields. But humanity. He paused, watching as the alien fleet frantically began to recharge their weapons. We went in a different direction. Lisa's hands flew across her console. Sir, they're trying to adapt their weapons. Changing frequencies, power levels, trying to find a way through the veil. Let them try, Walker said. Tom, send them our response. All frequencies. The message that went out was simple. The complete technical analysis of their weapon systems, down to the smallest detail. The aliens weren't just failing to hurt the tenacity. The ship was reading and understanding their technology in real time. The quantum core is mapping their entire fleet, Bill reported with a hint of pride. Every ship, every system, every weakness. Dr. Thompson said it would work. But this is beyond anything we expected. The alien fleet's formation began to break. Some ships tried to maintain their attack positions, while others started to back away. Their perfect sphere of death was turning into a chaotic scramble as they faced something they couldn't understand. They're launching fighters, Lisa called out. Hundreds of them. Small craft might have a better chance of getting through the veil. Walker nodded. Time to show them what else we can do. Bill, power up the response systems. The quantum core hummed louder. It wasn't just defending now. It was learning, adapting, creating. For every fighter the aliens launched, the core calculated a counter. Small drones emerged from hidden bays in the Tenacity's hull, each one guided by a quantum probability field that made them nearly impossible to hit. Their fighters are firing, Lisa reported. But her worried tone quickly turned to amazement. But our drones, they're not even trying to dodge. They're in places where the shots aren't. The bridge crew watched as the impossible dance unfolded in space. The alien fighters, sleek and deadly, fired blast after blast at the Tenacity's drones. But the quantum-guided machines seemed to know where every shot would go before it was fired. They moved through gaps in the enemy formation that didn't exist until they needed them to exist. Sir, Tom's voice was filled with excitement. Dr. Thompson is requesting permission to initiate the next phase. The core has gathered enough data. Walker smiled. This was what they had been waiting for. Tell her she has a green light. Let's show them what happens when humanity decides to stop playing by the rules of normal physics. The quantum core's hum changed pitch. The veil, which had been simply defending the ship, began to pulse with new energy. The drones, which had been effortlessly avoiding alien fire, suddenly shifted from defense to attack. Look at these readings, Bill said in awe. The core isn't just predicting their movements anymore. It's predicting their predictions. It's calculating what they'll do when they try to calculate what we'll do. The alien fighters started dropping like flies. Their advanced targeting systems were useless against drones that existed in multiple probable locations at once. Their sophisticated shields meant nothing against weapons that struck from angles that shouldn't have existed. Their capital ships are changing formation again, Lisa reported. They're trying to retreat. All but the command ship. The alien commander's voice came through again, but this time the arrogance was gone, replaced by something close to fear. What kind of devils are you? This technology. It violates every law of physics we know. That's your problem, Walker responded. You thought you knew all the laws. Humanity looked at physics and asked, what if there's more? While you were building bigger guns, we were learning to reshape reality itself. The quantum core's calculations were reaching their peak. The veil wasn't just a shield anymore. It was becoming a weapon. Every piece of data the core had gathered about the alien fleet was being processed, analyzed, and turned into a strategy that existed in a space between possibility and certainty. Dr. Thompson reports the core is ready, Tom announced. All systems are synchronized. We can end this whenever you give the word, sir. Walker looked at the alien command ship, still holding its position while its fleet retreated. They had come to Earth expecting an easy victory over a primitive species. Instead, they had found something that turned their understanding of the universe upside down. "Send them one last message," Walker ordered. "Tell them, this is humanity's response to being underestimated. Remember it." The quantum core pulsed one final time. The veil expanded, not to defend, but to attack. In the space around the tenacity, probability itself became a weapon. Every weakness the core had detected, every flaw in the alien ship's design, every possible point of failure, all of them became certainties at once. The alien fleet didn't explode. They didn't break apart. Their ships simply found themselves existing in the one probability, out of countless billions, where their technology failed completely. Systems shut down. Weapons went dark. Shields vanished. And in that moment, as their mighty fleet drifted powerless in space, the aliens learned what humanity had discovered years ago. True power doesn't come from building bigger weapons. It comes from changing the rules of what's possible. The alien command ship hung motionless in space, its once mighty systems reduced to barely functioning backup power. Around it, the rest of the fleet drifted helplessly, their proud vessels now little more than expensive space debris. But Walker knew better than to celebrate too early. The aliens had conquered hundreds of worlds. They wouldn't give up after one setback. "Sir," Lisa called out, her eyes fixed on her sensor displays. "I'm detecting power spikes. They're rerouting everything they have left to their emergency systems." The alien commander's voice crackled through the comm system, rage replacing his earlier fear. "You think you've won. We have conquered galaxies. We have burned 1,000 worlds. We will not be defeated by a single ship from a backward planet." Walker watched as the alien vessels began to glow with a different kind of energy. "Bill, what are we looking at?" "They're bypassing their main systems," Bill replied, his fingers dancing across his engineering console. "Looks like they had a backup power source we didn't detect. It's not like anything the core has seen before." Suddenly, the alien ship's hulls began to crack open, revealing hidden compartments. From these openings emerged new weapons, crystalline structures that pulsed with an inner light that made the quantum core's readings spike wildly. "Ancient tech," Tom said, reading from his station. "The commander's broadcasting to his fleet. They're activating something called the World Breaker Protocol. Emergency weapons they haven't had to use in centuries." The alien commander's laughter filled the bridge. "You forced our hand, humans. These weapons ended the last species that dared to resist us. Their planet is now an asteroid field. Your clever tricks won't save you from weapons that existed before your species learned to make fire." Dr. Thompson's voice came through on the internal comm. "Captain, the quantum core is having trouble mapping these new weapons. They're operating on principles we haven't seen before." Walker gripped the arms of his command chair as the alien ships began to move again, their new weapons charging with terrible power. "Can the veil protect us?" "Yes and no," Thompson replied. "The core can't predict what these weapons will do, but it's adapting, learning. Every second gives us more data. We just need to survive long enough to understand what we're facing." The first alien shot came without warning, a beam of energy that seemed to bend space itself. It struck the veil at an angle that shouldn't have been possible, slipping through gaps in probability that the quantum core hadn't known could exist. The tenacity shuddered for the first time since the battle began. Warning lights flashed across every console on the bridge. "Hull breach in Section 7, Bill shouted. "The veil, it couldn't stop it completely. These weapons, they're not just energy. They're changing the rules of space around them." Walker stood from his chair. "Dr. Thompson, what are our options?" "The core is processing the attack," she responded, her voice tense but focused. "These weapons, they're incredible. They don't just fire energy. They temporarily rewrite the laws of physics in a localized area. But that means—" She trailed off, and Walker could almost hear her mind racing. "Means what, Doctor?" "They're doing what we do," she said, excitement creeping into her voice. Just, primitively, brutally. They're forcing reality to change. But the quantum core doesn't force anything. It works with probability, shapes it, guides it. And that gives us an advantage. More alien ships were firing now, their ancient weapons lighting up space with impossible energies. But the veil was changing, adapting. Where the first shot had torn through it, the next 10 found it stronger, more resistant. The core is learning their pattern, Thompson explained. They can only rewrite physics in certain ways. It's like they're using sledgehammers where we use sculpting tools. Powerful, yes, but predictable. Walker watched as the veil began to pulse with new energy patterns. Can we counterattack? Better than that, Thompson replied. Captain, request permission to try something that might end this fight right now. These weapons destroyed an entire civilization, Doctor. What can we possibly do against that? Those weapons work by forcing reality to change, Thompson said. But reality doesn't like to be forced. There's always pushback, always a cost. The quantum core can see it now. Microfractures in space-time around their ships. They're powerful, but they're dangerous to the users too. Lisa's voice cut through the conversation. Multiple weapons locking on. They're going to fire everything at once. Dr. Thompson, Walker said, whatever you're going to do it now. The quantum core surged with power. The veil changed again. But this time it wasn't just defending. It was reaching out, touching those microfractures Thompson had detected, gently nudging probability in just the right way. The aliens fired. 37 ancient weapons, powerful enough to break worlds, all targeting the tenacity at once. The energy they released could have vaporized a small moon. But the tenacity wasn't there to be hit. The quantum core had calculated the one probability, out of countless quintillions, where all that energy would flow back through those microfractures, following paths of least resistance that led right back to their source. The alien ships had just enough time to realize what was happening. Their own weapons, their unstoppable planet-killing weapons, turned against them not by force but by the gentle manipulation of probability itself. Amazing, Thompson whispered over the comm. Their weapons tried to rewrite physics. But you can't break the rules without consequences. The quantum core just suggested to reality that it might want to snap back to normal. All we had to do was make sure their ships were in the way when it did. Walker watched as the alien fleet's mighty weapons began to tear themselves apart, not with the violence of an explosion, but with the inexorable certainty of cause and effect. The alien commander's final transmission was barely audible through the static. Impossible. We had the ultimate weapons. How could you? That was your mistake, Walker replied, though he wasn't sure the aliens could still hear him. You thought the ultimate weapon was something that could break the universe. We discovered something much more powerful, a way to work with it instead. One by one, the ancient weapons collapsed in on themselves, taking the alien ships with them. Not destroyed, but gently edited out of probability by their own attempts to force reality to obey them. The battle was over. Where the mighty alien fleet had been, there was now only empty space and a lesson about the true nature of power. Humanity hadn't won by building bigger guns or stronger shields. They had won by understanding that the universe itself was on the side of those who worked with it, not against it. As the crew of the Tenacity began damage assessments and system checks, Walker looked out at the stars. He wondered how many other alien civilizations would need to learn this lesson. How many would come to Earth expecting to find primitive humans with primitive technology, only to discover that true advancement wasn't about forcing your will on reality. It was about understanding that the greatest power comes from working with the very fabric of existence itself. And humanity, for all its apparent primitive nature, had mastered that art in ways their would-be conquerors had never imagined possible. The silence that followed the battle felt heavier than any combat. The Tenacity's crew worked quietly at their stations, running diagnostics and checking systems, still processing what they had just accomplished. They had faced the most powerful weapons in the galaxy and survived by turning physics itself against their enemies. A soft, alert tone broke the silence. "Sir," Tom called from communications, "we're picking up new signals. Hundreds of them, coming from all directions." Walker tensed. "More hostile ships?" "No, sir. They're transmissions. From everywhere. From every species in the galaxy that these aliens conquered. They saw everything. The quantum core was broadcasting the whole battle without us even realizing it." The main screen came alive with messages in dozens of languages, all being translated in real time. The quantum core, even after the strain of battle, was processing and interpreting every signal flawlessly. "They're calling us liberators," Tom said, his voice filled with wonder. "The aliens, they called themselves the Eternal Empire. They'd ruled this part of the galaxy for 10,000 years. No one ever beat them. No one ever even came close. Until today." Dr. Thompson's voice came through the intercom. "Captain, you need to see something. The Corps made a discovery during that last exchange. Something about the Eternal Empire that explains everything." "On my way," Walker replied. He turned to his second in command. "Robert, you have the bridge." The walk to the quantum core chamber took only a few minutes, but it gave Walker time to really look at his ship. The Tenacity's corridors were different now. Where there had once been simple metal walls, now there were subtle patterns of light, the quantum field that permeated the ship becoming visible as it processed reality in ways no human mind could fully grasp. The core chamber itself was a marvel of engineering hidden behind a deliberately simple design. At its center, suspended in a field of pure probability, was what looked like a small crystal sphere. But as Walker watched, he could see that it wasn't really there. Or rather, it was there in ways that human eyes weren't meant to understand. Dr. Thompson stood at her control station, her eyes fixed on readings that seemed to shift and change even as she looked at them. "Captain, remember how their ancient weapons tried to rewrite physics? Well, the Corps found out why they had that technology, why they were so sure they were superior to everyone else." She pressed a few controls, and a holographic display appeared in the air. It showed what looked like a timeline, but instead of a straight line, it was a complex web of possibilities and probabilities. "The Eternal Empire isn't just old," Thompson explained. "They're from a different universe, a previous one. They survived the death of their own reality and forced their way into ours when it was still young. That's why their technology seems to break physics. It was made for a universe with different rules." Walker stared at the display, trying to understand the implications. "How is that possible?" "They're ancient weapons," Thompson continued. "They're not weapons at all. They're tools they use to force their way into our universe, modified for combat. Every time they use them, they're essentially trying to make our reality work like their old one did. That's why they're so destructive. They're literally trying to break our universe to make it match their memory of home." The display shifted, showing the battle they had just fought, but from the quantum core's perspective. Walker could see how the alien weapons had tried to tear holes in reality itself, trying to make space work the way it had in their original universe. "But we did something they never expected," Thompson said, a note of pride in her voice. "Instead of trying to break reality, we learned to work with it. The quantum core doesn't force anything. It suggests, it guides, it finds the paths that are already there. That's why we won. That's why we could turn their own weapons against them." A new alert sounded from Thompson's console. "And that's not all. Look at this. The Corps has finished analyzing their entire technological base. Everything they used, everything they built, it was all based on trying to force our universe to behave like their old one. They never adapted, never tried to understand the new rules. They just kept trying to make everything work the way it used to." Walker thought about this. 10,000 years of conquest, all because they couldn't accept that they were in a new reality with new rules. "Exactly," Thompson nodded. "And now we have a choice to make. The Corps has mapped out their entire empire, every world they conquered, every species they enslaved. We know where everything is, and more importantly, we know how to undo what they did. The display changed again, showing a map of the galaxy. Thousands of worlds were highlighted, each one under the control of the Eternal Empire. But now, with their main fleet destroyed and their weapons proven useless against quantum technology, they were vulnerable. The other species are already rising up. Tom's voice came through the intercom. The Eternal Empire's grip is breaking. But they're asking for our help. They want to know if Earth will lead them, help them rebuild. Walker looked at the quantum core, pulsing gently in its chamber of probability. Can we? After what Earth has been through, can we take on that responsibility? Thompson smiled. Captain, Earth was never helpless. We let the Eternal Empire think we were primitive because it gave us time to perfect this technology. Now we can help these other species understand what we learned. That true power isn't about forcing your will on reality. It's about understanding it, working with it, becoming part of the natural flow of the universe instead of trying to break it. New messages were pouring in from across the galaxy. Species that had been enslaved for thousands of years were throwing off their chains. The Eternal Empire's remaining forces were surrendering or fleeing, their unshakable belief in their own superiority finally broken by a single ship from a supposedly primitive world. Sir, Robert's voice came through the intercom. The quantum core is picking up something else. The Eternal Empire had research facilities scattered across the galaxy, places where they stored technology from their original universe. If they fall into the wrong hands. Walker nodded. Then we make sure they don't. The tenacity was built to protect Earth, but now we have a bigger mission. We need to help these species rebuild. Yes, but we also need to make sure no one else tries to break reality the way the Eternal Empire did. Looking at the quantum core, Walker could almost see the infinite possibilities spreading out before them. Humanity had created something that didn't just understand the universe, it worked in harmony with it. And now they had the chance to share that understanding with a galaxy that had only known force and domination for 10,000 years. Send a message to Earth, Walker ordered. Tell them the war is over. But our real work is just beginning. It's time to show the galaxy that the greatest power doesn't come from breaking the rules of reality. It comes from understanding them well enough to know which ones can bend, and which ones are better left alone. The quantum core pulsed in agreement, its gentle light promising a future where intelligence and understanding would replace force and domination. The galaxy was about to learn what humanity had discovered. That true advancement comes not from fighting against the nature of reality, but from becoming one with it. 3 months after the battle, the Tenacity hovered in orbit around a world once called Home Base Alpha by the Eternal Empire. Now it was being returned to its original name, Bluria, by the blue-skinned species who had called it home before the Empire's arrival thousands of years ago. They weren't the only ones celebrating a homecoming. Across the galaxy, hundreds of species were reclaiming their worlds, their cultures, their freedom. Captain Walker stood on the observation deck, watching the celebrations happening on the planet below. Ships from 24 different worlds had gathered in the system, bringing representatives to what was being called the First Galactic Congress. Earth, once thought to be a primitive backwater, was now at the center of a new era. Quite a view, isn't it? Dr. Thompson said as she joined him. The past months had been busy for her, explaining quantum technology to scientists from across the galaxy. Some understood it quickly. Others struggled with the concept that working with reality was more powerful than trying to break it. Walker nodded. I keep thinking about how different this could have been. If the Eternal Empire had recognized what we were building, if they'd struck before the Tenacity was ready. But they didn't, Thompson reminded him. Their greatest weakness was their absolute certainty. They were so sure they understood everything that they never considered they might be wrong. A soft tone indicated someone was requesting entry to the observation deck. The door slid open to reveal Tom, holding a data tablet. Captain, the final reports from Earth. The rebuilding is ahead of schedule. The quantum technologies we've shared have made things much easier. Walker took the tablet, scrolling through images of cities being reconstructed at impossible speeds. Quantum-guided construction drones worked in perfect harmony, their movements guided by probability fields that eliminated waste and maximized efficiency. What might have taken decades was being accomplished in months. "And the message we've been waiting for?" Walker asked. Tom smiled. "Just came through. The World Council has approved it. Earth is ready to broadcast to the entire galaxy." The door opened again, and this time it was Robert who entered. "Sir, the ambassadors are waiting in the conference room. They're eager to hear Earth's decision." Walker took a deep breath. This was the moment that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. Not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as teachers. Earth was about to offer something no species had shared before, a fundamentally new way of understanding reality itself. The conference room was filled with beings from across the galaxy. Some looked almost human. Others were so alien that special quantum translation fields were needed just to help them perceive one another. But they all fell silent as Walker entered. "Representatives of the free worlds," Walker began, "Earth has made its decision. The technology that defeated the Eternal Empire will be shared with all species who wish to learn. Not as a weapon, but as a tool. A new way of understanding our universe." Murmurs spread through the gathering. An ambassador with iridescent scales stood. "This quantum technology. Many believe you should keep it for yourselves. It gives your species unimaginable power. Why would you share it?" Walker smiled. "Because that's the lesson the Eternal Empire never learned. True power doesn't come from hoarding knowledge or forcing your will on others. It comes from understanding, from cooperation, from recognizing that we're all part of the same reality, and we all have a role in shaping it." He activated the display at the center of the conference table. Above it appeared a holographic representation of the quantum core, its gentle pulsing light illuminating the faces of the gathered ambassadors. "This technology doesn't force the universe to obey us," Walker explained. "It learns, it adapts, it works with the natural flow of probability. And in doing so, it accomplishes what brute force never could. That's the message Earth wants to share with the galaxy. We don't need to break reality to master it. We just need to understand it better." Another ambassador, this one a being of pure energy contained in a specialized field, spoke next. "But the remaining forces of the Eternal Empire still threaten many worlds. They still have weapons that can destroy entire planets. How can your philosophy protect us from that?" Instead of answering directly, Walker nodded to Dr. Thompson. She stepped forward, her hands moving through the holographic display, reshaping it to show the galaxy as the quantum core perceived it, not just as points of light, but as interconnected probabilities, each influencing the others. "The Eternal Empire's weapons were powerful because they tried to force our universe to behave like their old one," Thompson explained. "But that approach has a fundamental flaw. Our reality resists being changed that way. It pushes back. That's why their weapons were so destructive. They were fighting against the very nature of existence itself." She shifted the display again, showing how the quantum technology worked with those same forces instead of against them. "We're not proposing to give you new weapons," Thompson continued. "We're offering to teach you a new way of thinking. The quantum principles we've discovered can be applied to everything, from medicine to agriculture, from communication to defense. And yes, when necessary, to protect yourselves from those who still think force is the answer." The room was silent as the implications sank in. Earth wasn't offering to become the new ruling power. It wasn't planning to replace the Eternal Empire with a human empire. It was offering something much more revolutionary. A galaxy where each species could develop along its own path, guided by a shared understanding of how reality truly worked. "There's something else you should know," Walker added. "The Tenacity wasn't our only ship with this technology. It was simply the first one ready when the Eternal Empire attacked. We could have built a fleet of them. We could have conquered the galaxy ourselves after defeating the Empire." He paused, letting the statement hang in the air. But that was never our intention. The quantum core showed us countless possible futures, and in every one where domination was the goal, it ended in tragedy. Not just for the dominated, but for the dominators as well. That's another truth the Eternal Empire never grasped. When you try to control everything, you ultimately lose control of yourself. The holographic display changed one last time, showing a simple message in the languages of all present. Cooperation, not domination. Understanding, not force. This is humanity's message to the galaxy, Walker said, his voice firm but kind. We invite all of you to join us in exploring what's possible when we work with reality instead of against it, when we share knowledge instead of hoarding it, when we see diversity as strength, not weakness. The response wasn't immediate. Some ambassadors remained skeptical. Others were openly enthusiastic. But as the conference continued, a consensus began to form. Whatever their differences, whatever their histories, they all shared the same universe, and humanity had shown them a new way to understand it. As the gathering concluded, Walker found himself back on the observation deck, watching the stars. Robert joined him quietly. "Do you think it will work?" Robert asked. "This galaxy has known nothing but the Eternal Empire's rule for 10,000 years. Can it really change so quickly?" Walker thought about the quantum core and everything it had taught them about probability and impossibility. "It won't be quick," he admitted. "And it won't be easy. The Empire hurt a lot of worlds, left deep scars. Some species will choose revenge. Others will try to build their own empires. We can't control what everyone does with the knowledge we share." "Then why share it at all?" Robert wondered. "Because the alternative is to become what we defeated," Walker replied. "The moment we decide we know better than everyone else, that we have the right to control the future of the galaxy, that's the moment we start down the same path the Eternal Empire took, and we've seen where that leads." Below them, the lights of Luria sparkled as night fell across its restored cities. New quantum technologies were already helping repair the damage of centuries of exploitation. Not by forcing the world to change, but by working with its natural systems, guiding them toward healing. "The universe doesn't need a new empire," Walker said softly. "It needs a new understanding. And that's what Earth can offer. Not control, not dominance, just a better way of being part of reality, together." As the Tenacity prepared to depart for its next mission, a message from Earth was broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. It was simple, powerful, and unmistakable in its meaning. "We could have built a fleet of these. We only needed one. Remember that before you try to become the next empire, and remember that we're here to help you build something better instead." The emergency alarms echoed through the massive halls of the Galactic Council space station. Red lights flashed across the curved walls as hundreds of alien representatives hurried to the main chamber. Something had gone terribly wrong, and everyone knew it. Inside the grand circular chamber, the council members took their seats. Some floated in anti-gravity pods, others sat on traditional chairs, and a few stayed in their environmental tanks. The room buzzed with worried whispers and nervous movement. At the center of the chamber, High Counselor Rex, a tall being with metallic skin, raised all four of his arms for silence. "We face a crisis," he announced, his voice deep and troubled. "The humans have done something that threatens the very fabric of our technological understanding." Images appeared in the air above the council floor. They showed a strange-looking warship, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Its hull was a mix of different materials that shouldn't work together. Energy readings from the ship made no sense. They showed power signatures that should have destroyed each other. "This is the U.S. Phantom," Rex continued, pointing at the image. "A human warship that breaks every rule of compatible technology we have followed for 10,000 years. They have combined systems from 15 different civilizations, systems that cannot work together." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. A representative from the science-focused Silver World stood up, their crystalline body reflecting the red emergency lights. Impossible. The energy fields would tear the ship apart. The operating systems would crash. The whole materials would reject each other. But the images didn't lie. The U.S. Phantom not only existed, it flew through space with impossible grace. More images showed the ship in action, its weapons combining different alien technologies in ways that should have failed catastrophically. Instead, they worked better than anyone could have imagined. Admiral James Thompson stood on the bridge of the U.S. Phantom, watching the stars through the main viewport. He knew his ship was causing chaos in the Galactic Council, but he couldn't help feeling proud. The Phantom was humanity's greatest achievement, a warship built by breaking all the rules. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Mike from his station, "we're picking up more scan attempts. Looks like everyone wants to know how we tick." Mike grinned as he worked his controls. A mix of touchscreens, holographic interfaces, and neural links that no other ship in the galaxy used together. Thompson walked to the center of the bridge, his boots making solid sounds on the deck plates made of 3 different alien metals that supposedly couldn't exist side by side. "Let them scan," he said. "They won't understand what they're seeing anyway." The bridge crew worked at their stations, each one a testament to human ingenuity. Engineers Mary Cooper and Robert Wilson had designed these stations to use multiple alien technologies at once. Where other species saw conflict and impossibility, humans saw opportunity and innovation. "Admiral," called out the weapons officer, Tom, "the Council's sending another message. They're demanding we power down and submit to inspection." Thompson shook his head. "Send our usual response. We're a properly registered Earth military vessel, operating in free space under human authority." The Phantom continued its patrol route, its engines humming with power that shouldn't exist. The ship used both quantum gravity and antimatter drives, a combination that made other species scientists pull their hair out, if they had hair. The humans had found that the two systems, rather than fighting each other, created a unique resonance that made the ship faster and more maneuverable than anything else in known space. In his private office, Thompson looked at the reports from his engineering team. Cooper and Wilson had outdone themselves again. They'd found a way to layer 3 different types of shield technology, energy fields that should have exploded if they touched. Instead, the fields worked together, making the Phantom nearly invulnerable to known weapons. A knock at his door interrupted his reading. "Come in," he called out. Mary Cooper entered, her eyes bright with excitement. "Admiral, we've done it again. Remember how everyone said we couldn't mix Trader Union computer systems with Defense League targeting arrays? Well, we proved them wrong. The new targeting system is 3 times more accurate than anything in the galaxy." Thompson smiled. This was why the Phantom existed, to prove that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to ignore impossible and find new ways forward. "Good work, Mary. How's Robert handling the power distribution?" "He's like a kid with new toys," Mary laughed. "He found out that if we run the power through all 3 reactor types in sequence, we get 40% more energy than we should. The aliens say it breaks the laws of physics. Robert says it just breaks their understanding of physics." Alarms suddenly blared through the ship. Thompson and Mary rushed to the bridge, where the crew was already at battle stations. "Pirate ships, sir," Mike reported. 3 heavy cruisers, coming in fast. They're of the Lost Fleet, the ones that have been hitting colony worlds. Thompson took his command chair. Finally, a chance to show what this ship can really do. "Battle stations, everyone. Let's show them why they should fear the impossible." The pirate ships approached, their black hulls bristling with weapons. They were feared throughout the sector, using top-line military gear stolen from multiple species. Their leader's voice came over the comm system, full of confidence and mockery. "Unknown vessel, power down and prepare to be boarded. We've taken dozens of ships in this sector. Your strange little craft won't last 5 minutes against us." Thompson smiled. "All stations, Combat Protocol Omega. Show them what happens when you combine technologies that don't work together." The Phantom's hybrid weapons powered up. Shield systems that shouldn't exist flared to life. Targeting systems that broke all the rules locked onto the enemy ships. The pirates were about to learn why this ship was giving the Galactic Council nightmares. "Sir," Tom reported from weapons, "all systems ready. Permission to show these pirates why humans don't follow the rules." Thompson nodded, his voice firm and clear. "Permission granted. Let's make some history." The Phantom moved forward, its impossible drives glowing with power that defied understanding. The pirates were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology. It was the ability to imagine new ways to use it. The battle that followed would change the galaxy's understanding of what was possible, and it would only be the beginning of the U.S. Phantom's legend. The three pirate ships spread out in an attack formation, their black hulls reflecting the distant starlight. They were confident in their superior numbers and firepower. The U.S. Phantom hung in space before them, its strange hull gleaming with impossible energy readings. "Last warning," the pirate leader's voice crackled over the comm. "Power down now, or we'll blow your weird little ship into space dust." Admiral Thompson looked at his crew and nodded. "Show them what the Phantom can do. All weapons free." The pirates fired first, their energy beams and plasma torpedoes streaming toward the Phantom. They expected their target to try dodging or to break apart under their combined fire. Instead, the impossible ship just sat there, letting the attacks hit. 3 different shield systems flared to life at once. The pirates' weapons splashed harmlessly against barriers that rippled with gold, blue, and green energy. On their sensors, the pirates saw something that made no sense. The Phantom's shields were actually growing stronger with each hit. "Impossible," the pirate leader shouted. "Those shield types can't work together. The energy feedback should be destroying your ship." Thompson smiled. "Mary, would you explain to our pirate friends why they're wrong?" Engineer Mary Cooper's voice came over the open channel, clear and proud. "Actually, when you adjust the shield frequencies just right, they create a resonance pattern. Each hit makes the pattern stronger. We just had to think differently about how energy fields interact." The pirates responded by launching another barrage. This time they used weapons of different types, hoping to find a weakness. The Phantom's shields just glowed brighter. "Our turn," Thompson said. "Tom, show them our special weapon combinations." The Phantom's weapons officer grinned as he pressed his controls. The ship's main guns powered up, combining energy types that no other ship in the galaxy dared to mix. Beams of twisted light shot out, spiraling around each other in impossible patterns. The lead pirate ship tried to dodge, but its shields collapsed instantly under the hybrid attack. The impossible energy combination cut through its hull like it was made of paper. The ship's engines died, leaving it drifting in space. What was that?" the second pirate captain demanded, fear creeping into his voice. That, Robert Wilson called from his engineering station, was 3 different weapon types working together. "Everyone said it would blow up in our faces. We proved them wrong." The remaining pirate ships tried to split up, but the Phantom's strange engines flared with multiple colors as it moved faster than should have been possible. It caught up to the second ship in moments. "How are they moving so fast?" one pirate screamed over the open channel. "Their engine signatures make no sense." "Making sense is overrated," Thompson replied. "Tom, disable their engines. Let's show them another impossible trick." The Phantom fired again, this time using a different weapon combination. Rings of energy that should have destroyed each other spun out from the ship's lateral guns. They wrapped around the pirate vessel's engine section, shorting out its power in seconds. The last pirate ship turned to run, its captain finally realizing they were outmatched. But the Phantom's hybrid sensors had already locked on. No amount of electronic countermeasures or stealth fields could break that lock. "Please," the final pirate captain begged, "we surrender. Just tell us how you built that monster ship." Thompson stood up from his command chair. "The secret isn't in the building. It's in refusing to accept limitations. Humans don't believe in impossible. We just see problems we haven't solved yet." The Phantom's final shots disabled the last pirate ship's weapons and engines. In less than 10 minutes, the most feared pirate group in the sector had been reduced to floating wrecks. "Send the coordinates to the sector patrol," Thompson ordered. "They can pick up our pirate friends and their ships." As the crew worked, Mary approached Thompson with a tablet showing new readings. "Sir, you'll want to see this. Remember how everyone said using multiple targeting systems would create data conflicts? Well, the battle proved them wrong again. The systems are actually learning from each other. Our targeting accuracy just improved by 20%. Robert joined them, his face excited. "And the shield resonance thing? It's better than we thought. Each hit really does make the pattern stronger. We could probably take on a whole battle fleet now." Mike called out from his station. "Speaking of battle fleets, sir, I'm picking up a lot of ships heading our way. Looks like the Galactic Council finally decided to see the Phantom up close." Thompson watched the sensor displays as dozens of ships appeared from faster-than-light travel. They represented the most powerful species in the galaxy, each bringing their best warships to investigate the impossible human vessel. "Sir," Tom reported, "they're demanding we shut down our dangerous and unstable systems. They're saying we're in violation of about 50 different technology treaties." "Send them the data from our pirate battle," Thompson ordered. "Let them see that our dangerous and unstable systems just took down 3 ships that their conventional fleets couldn't catch." Mary looked at the approaching fleet with bright eyes. "You know what's funny? Each of those ships out there represents a species that told us our ideas were impossible. Now they're all coming to see how we did it. That's humanity's real strength," Thompson said. "We don't just think outside the box. We take different boxes, cut them up, and build something new. The Phantom isn't just a warship. It's proof that progress comes from challenging old limits." The Galactic Council ships formed a ring around the Phantom, their sensors trying to understand how the impossible ship functioned. But they couldn't make sense of it because they were still thinking the old way, believing that certain technologies couldn't mix, that some combinations were impossible. Thompson looked at his crew, the humans who had helped prove the impossible was possible. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them Phase 1 is complete. The Phantom has proven itself in combat." "And Phase 2, sir?" Mary asked, already guessing the answer. Thompson smiled. "Phase 2 is showing the galaxy that this is just the beginning. The Phantom isn't a violation of natural laws. It's proof that we didn't fully understand those laws, and humanity is just getting started." The impossible ship hung in space, surrounded by the galaxy's most powerful vessels. But everyone watching knew that something had changed. The rules about what was possible had been rewritten, and humanity was holding the pen. The U.S. Phantom was just the first step into a new age of discovery and innovation, where impossible was just another word for not tried yet. The Galactic Council's emergency meeting had turned into chaos. Hundreds of representatives argued as holographic displays showed the U.S. Phantom's battle with the pirates. They watched again and again as the impossible ship's weapons cut through shields that should have held, as its own defenses grew stronger with each hit. "This must stop," shouted the representative from the Tech Directorate, slamming his metal fist on the podium. "The humans are playing with forces they don't understand. Their ship breaks 63 known laws of physics." High Counselor Rex raised his 4 arms for silence. "We have a more immediate problem. The Phantom's success against the pirates has inspired other human shipyards. Our spies report they're already building more ships using these forbidden technology combinations." The chamber erupted in fresh panic. One ship breaking the rules was bad enough, but an entire fleet of impossible ships, it was unthinkable. Aboard the Phantom, Admiral Thompson reviewed the latest messages from Earth Command. The ship's success had changed everything. Humanity was pushing forward with new designs, taking the lessons learned from the Phantom and going even further. "Sir," Mike called from his station, "we're picking up some strange readings. The Council fleet is trying something new." Thompson looked at the main screen. The alien ships had arranged themselves in a complex pattern around the Phantom. Energy readings began to spike as they activated some kind of synchronized weapon system. "They're trying to create a resonance field," Mary explained, rushing to her engineering station. "They think if they match the frequency of our shield harmonics, they can disrupt our systems." The alien ships fired as one, their beams combining into a web of energy that surrounded the Phantom. For a moment, the impossible ship's shields flickered. "They actually did their homework," Robert said, his fingers flying over his controls. "But they forgot something important. Our systems don't just break the rules, they rewrite them." "Mary, remember that shield modification we theorized?" Mary's eyes lit up. "The recursive adaptation protocol. But we haven't tested it yet." "No time like the present," Thompson said. "Do it." Mary and Robert worked together, their hands dancing across their stations. The Phantom's shields began to pulse with new patterns of energy. Instead of fighting against the Council fleet's resonance field, the shields began to absorb it, learning and adapting. "Impossible," came a transmission from the Council fleet. "Their shields are using our own resonance field to grow stronger." Thompson opened a channel to all ships. "That's the problem with thinking you know all the rules. You forget that rules can change. Stand down now, or we'll be forced to demonstrate more of our impossible tricks." The Council fleet hesitated. Their best scientists had created this trap, using their most advanced understanding of energy field interactions. But the humans had turned it against them in minutes. "Admiral," Tom reported from weapons, "I'm reading power buildups in their secondary weapons." "They're not giving up." Thompson nodded. "Show them what happens when you combine that new shield configuration with our hybrid weapon systems." The Phantom's weapons powered up, but this time they were different. The energy from the shields fed into the weapon systems, creating new combinations that even the ship's creators hadn't predicted. A burst of impossible energy shot out from the Phantom, splitting into multiple beams that danced between the Council ships. One by one, their shields failed, their weapons powered down, and their engines went dark. What did you do to our ships?" demanded a Council commander. "We used your own energy against you," Mary explained. "Your resonance field gave us the perfect frequency to disable your systems without causing any real damage. You'll have power back in about an hour." Thompson stood at the center of his bridge, looking at the disabled Council fleet. "Your scientists think they know everything about how technology works. But humanity's greatest strength is asking what if? What if two things that shouldn't work together actually could? What if the rules you think are unbreakable are just rules you haven't questioned yet?" The Council ships floated powerless in space as the Phantom's crew continued to analyze the data from their new shield configuration. Every attempt to stop them had only made them stronger, teaching them new ways to combine technologies that the galaxy thought impossible. "Sir," Mike said, receiving a priority message from Earth Command. "They want us to proceed to the outer colonies. There are reports of heavy military activity out there. The Council's not the only one interested in our ship anymore." Thompson looked at his crew. They were tired from the constant confrontations, but their eyes still shone with the excitement of discovery. Every battle, every challenge, had taught them something new about their impossible ship. "They're afraid of us," Mary said, looking at the disabled Council fleet. "Not just because we're powerful, but because we're proving everything they believe about technology is wrong." "Fear leads to desperate actions," Thompson replied. "And I have a feeling we haven't seen desperate yet. Plot a course for the outer colonies. If someone's building up forces out there, we need to know why." As the Phantom prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, its systems humming with impossible energy combinations, Thompson thought about what they'd accomplished. They hadn't just built a powerful warship. They'd challenged the galaxy's fundamental beliefs about what was possible. The ship's hybrid drives powered up, creating a faster-than-light field that broke a dozen more laws of physics. As they prepared to jump, Thompson received one last message from the Council fleet's commander. "You don't understand what you're doing," the alien warned. There are reasons we don't combine technologies like this. There are things out there. Things that notice when you break too many rules. Thompson sent back a simple reply. Then it's time they noticed humanity. Because we're just getting started. The Phantom vanished into faster-than-light speed, leaving behind a galaxy in turmoil. The impossible ship had changed everything, challenging thousands of years of technological doctrine. But as they headed toward the outer colonies, Thompson and his crew couldn't know that their greatest test was still to come. Because the Council commander was right about one thing. Something had noticed them. In the darkness between the stars, ancient powers were stirring, awakened by the impossible energy signatures of humanity's greatest achievement. The real question wasn't whether the Phantom could break the rules. The question was, what happened when you broke so many rules that reality itself took notice? The U.S. Phantom dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of human space. The outer colonies lay before them, scattered across dozens of star systems. But something was wrong. The usual busy traffic of merchant ships and patrol vessels was missing. Multiple distress beacons detected, Mike reported from his station. They're coming from 3 different colonies, but the signals are weird, sir, like something's interfering with them. Thompson studied the sensor readings. Any response to our hails? Nothing, sir. Just static and wait. Mike adjusted his controls. I'm picking up something else. Some kind of energy pattern I've never seen before. It's huge, covering at least 2 star systems. Mary rushed to her engineering station, her eyes widening as she looked at the readings. Admiral, remember what that Council commander said? About things that notice when you break too many rules. I think we just found them. The main screen lit up with new sensor data. Massive objects were moving through the outer colony systems. They were bigger than anything the galaxy had ever seen, their hulls made of material that seemed to bend reality around them. Sir, Tom called out, I'm getting weapons readings from those ships. They're using energy patterns similar to ours, but more advanced, like they've been breaking the rules of physics for millions of years. Robert spoke up from engineering. They're not just breaking the rules, they're ignoring them completely. These beings, they're operating on a whole different level of reality. A transmission cut through their communications, filling the bridge with a strange, echoing voice. We are the Watchers. We have seen your violation of the natural laws. Your species has drawn our attention. Thompson stood tall. This is Admiral James Thompson of the U.S. Phantom. Why have you attacked our colonies? Attack. The voice seemed amused. We are containing the spread of your chaos. For billions of years, we have maintained order in this galaxy. Species must follow the proper path of technological development. Your kind, you break too many rules. You combine things that should not be combined. You must be stopped before you destabilize reality itself. Mary's console suddenly lit up with alerts. Sir, I'm detecting massive energy buildups from their ships. They're using some kind of reality-warping weapons. The Phantom shook as waves of strange energy washed over it. Systems started to flicker as the laws of physics themselves seemed to shift and change around them. Our shields are failing, Robert reported. These weapons, they're not just attacking our ship. They're attacking the rules that make our technology work. Thompson gripped his command chair as the ship shuddered again. Mary, Robert, you've made the impossible work before. We need another miracle. The 2 engineers worked frantically at their stations. The Phantom's hybrid systems were failing one by one as the Watchers' weapons rewrote the laws of reality around them. Wait, Mary said suddenly. That's it. They're not just breaking the rules. They're changing them. But our systems, they're designed to work with broken rules. Robert, if we reverse the shield harmonics and feed them into the weapon systems. Robert caught on immediately. We could use their reality manipulation against them. The more they change the rules, the stronger we get. Thompson nodded. Do it. Tom, prepare all weapons. If we're going to fight beings that control reality, we might as well go all out. The Phantom's systems hummed with new energy as Mary and Robert implemented their desperate plan. The ship's impossible technology began to adapt to the changing laws of physics, learning and growing stronger with each shift. "Energy readings are off the scale," Mike reported. "Whatever you two did, it's working. Our systems aren't just adapting to their reality changes, they're learning from them." The Watcher's voice came again, this time with a note of surprise. "Impossible. Your technology, it grows stronger. You learn from our attempts to contain you." Thompson smiled. "That's humanity's greatest strength. We don't just break rules. We learn from them. We adapt. We grow. And right now, you're teaching us exactly how to fight you." The Phantom's weapons fired, combining their hybrid technology with the reality-warping energies they'd absorbed from the Watchers. Beams of impossibly twisted light cut through space, actually bending the laws of physics around them. One of the massive Watcher ships reeled back, its reality-warping field disrupted by the Phantom's attack. "This cannot be. You are children playing with forces you don't understand." "Understanding is overrated," Robert called out. "We're humans. We see something impossible. We find a way to make it work. Right now, you're showing us whole new levels of impossible to work with." The Watchers launched another attack, trying to completely rewrite the laws of physics in the local space. But the Phantom's systems had already learned from the previous attacks. The ship's hybrid technology didn't just resist the changes. It embraced them, using them to create new and even more impossible combinations. "Sir," Mary reported excitedly, "their reality manipulation is actually improving our systems. Every change they make teaches us something new about how to break the rules." Thompson opened a channel to the Watcher ships. "You've spent billions of years enforcing the rules. But you forgot the most important rule of all life adapts. Evolution isn't just biological. It's technological too. And humanity. We're the best adapters in the galaxy." The Phantom's impossible weapons fired again, this time creating effects that even its creators hadn't imagined possible. Reality itself seemed to twist and bend around the ship as it fought beings that had once thought themselves the masters of physical law. But even as they fought back against the Watchers, Thompson knew this was just the beginning. These ancient beings wouldn't give up easily, and somewhere out in the darkness between stars, more of them were coming. The real war for humanity's right to break the rules was about to begin. But as Thompson looked at his crew, at the humans who had already made the impossible possible, he knew they were ready for whatever came next, because the Watchers had made one crucial mistake. They thought enforcing the rules would stop humanity. Instead, they were teaching humanity exactly how to break those rules even better. And the U.S. Phantom was about to show them just how dangerous that mistake could be. News of the battle spread quickly through human space. The U.S. Phantom, already famous for breaking the rules of physics, was now fighting beings that controlled those rules. As reports reached Earth, humanity responded in the only way it knew how, by innovating even faster. Admiral Thompson stood on the Phantom's bridge, watching as the sensor display filled with new contacts. But these weren't enemy ships. They were human vessels, coming from every colony and outpost. Some were military, others were converted civilian ships. All of them had been modified based on the Phantom's designs, each one breaking the rules in new and creative ways. "Sir," Mike reported with a grin, "we're getting hails from over 50 ships. They've all implemented some version of our hybrid technology. The research teams back home have been working around the clock." Thompson nodded. Humanity had always been at its best when facing impossible odds. "Open a channel to all ships. This is Admiral Thompson. What we face today isn't just an enemy fleet. The Watchers believe they control the laws of reality, and that we have no right to challenge those laws. They've spent billions of years enforcing their vision of order. Today, we show them something they've never seen before, a species that thrives on breaking the rules." The human fleet formed up around the Phantom. Each ship glowed with impossible energy combinations, their hulls shimmering with materials that shouldn't work together. Scientists and engineers across human space had taken the Phantom's designs and pushed them even further, finding new ways to break the rules. Mary approached Thompson, her eyes bright with excitement. "Sir, the fleet is sharing their innovations with us. Each ship found a different way to combine technologies. If we network our systems together, we become more than the sum of our parts," Thompson finished. "Do it." As the human ships linked their systems, something unprecedented began to happen. Their impossible technologies didn't just work together. They evolved, learning and adapting at an incredible rate. The combined fleet became a single organism of innovation and discovery. The Watchers sensed the change. Their massive ships, each one larger than a moon, moved to surround the human fleet. Reality warped around them as they prepared to unleash their full power. "We have existed since the beginning of this galaxy," their voice boomed across all frequencies. "We established the laws of physics. We determined which technologies could exist. And now you, children of a young star, think you can challenge us." Thompson stood firm. "We don't just challenge you. We thank you. Every attempt you make to stop us teaches us something new. Every rule you try to enforce shows us 10 new ways to break it. That's what you never understood about humanity. We learned from our enemies." The Watchers attacked, unleashing weapons that bent space and time. Stars dimmed as reality itself was twisted by their power. The human fleet should have been annihilated instantly. Instead, something miraculous happened. The networked ships, learning and adapting together, began to predict the Watchers' reality manipulations. Their shields shifted and changed, not just defending against the attacks but absorbing their principles. "It's working," Robert shouted from his engineering station. "The entire fleet is learning together. The more they attack, the more we understand how they control reality." The Phantom led the counterattack, its weapons now enhanced by knowledge gained from dozens of other innovative ships. Beams of energy that defied classification shot out, striking the nearest Watcher vessel. Where the energy touched, the Watchers' control over reality faltered. "They're not gods," Mary realized, studying the readings. "They're just an ancient species that learned to manipulate reality before anyone else. But they stopped innovating billions of years ago. They just enforced the same rules over and over. And now we're writing new rules," Thompson said. "All ships, concentrate fire on the lead vessel. Use everything we've learned." The human fleet fired as one, their impossible weapons combining into something even the Phantom's creators couldn't have imagined. Reality itself seemed to crack where their combined energy struck, revealing something beyond physical law, pure possibility. The lead Watcher ship shuddered as its reality-shaping field collapsed. For the first time in billions of years, the ancient beings knew fear. They had enforced the laws of physics for so long, they'd forgotten that laws could change. "You cannot do this," the Watchers transmitted, their voice no longer confident. "The consequences, you will destroy everything." "No," Thompson replied calmly. "We're not destroying anything. We're evolving, just like life has always done. The rules aren't set in stone. They're meant to be challenged and changed." The human fleet pressed its advantage, each ship using what they'd learned to strike at different Watcher vessels. The ancient beings found themselves outmaneuvered by a species a fraction of their age, their billion-year-old tactics useless against humanity's constant adaptation. One by one, the Watcher ships lost their hold on reality. Some fled, vanishing into the darkness between galaxies. Others simply shut down, their ancient systems unable to comprehend the rapidly evolving human technology. As the battle turned decisively in humanity's favor, Thompson opened a channel to the remaining Watcher ships. "You can keep fighting, but you'll keep losing. Or you can accept that the galaxy has room for different approaches. Your way isn't the only way." Silence hung over the battlefield for a long moment. Then, the Watcher's voice returned, somehow sounding older and wiser. "In all our existence, we have never encountered a species like yours. You do not just break rules. You transform them into something new. That's what life does, Thompson responded. It adapts. It evolves. It finds new ways forward. Your mistake was thinking that technology shouldn't do the same. Perhaps, the ancient voice conceded. After billions of years, we have forgotten what it means to discover, to see new possibilities. The remaining Watcher ships powered down their weapons. The reality distortions around them faded as they withdrew their control over physical law. We will watch, as we have always done. But we will not interfere again. Your species has earned the right to find its own path. As the Watcher fleet retreated, the human ships began helping the damaged colonies. Networks of impossible technology restored what had been broken, healing wounds in reality itself. What had started as a warship had become something much more, a new understanding of what was possible. Thompson stood on the Phantom's observation deck, watching as the fleet worked together. Mary and Robert joined him, their faces tired but triumphant. "So what happens now?" Mary asked. "We've broken pretty much every rule in the book." Thompson smiled. "Now we write a new book. The Watchers spent billions of years telling the galaxy what couldn't be done. Now it's our turn to show what can be done." "The Phantom was just the beginning," Robert added. "Look at what the fleet accomplished when we shared our innovations. Imagine what happens when we share them with everyone." Thompson nodded. The impossible ship had changed everything. What had started as a military project had become the spark for a new age of discovery and cooperation. Humanity had faced beings that controlled reality itself, and had shown them that reality was meant to be questioned, challenged, and improved. As the Phantom rejoined the fleet, its impossible systems humming with new possibilities, Thompson knew this was just the first chapter in humanity's greatest adventure. They had proven that impossible was just another word for not tried yet, and humanity was just getting started.